Have you ever felt completely alone in a room full of people? Like you're watching everyone through a soundproof glass, wondering if anyone is actually seeing the real you. Well, if you have, then welcome to today's show where we're going to be exploring exactly what loneliness may be trying to tell you. Especially, I'm going to be talking about four gifts, unacknowledged gift that loneliness may be bringing you right now. And also, what you can do in those moments when you feel completely abandoned and alone and unseen. So stay with us. Welcome, everybody, and welcome to our weekly Heartstream meditation. I'm Gabriel Gonsalves. If this is your first time, this is a dedicated space where we tune in and connect with our hearts every week, connecting with what I call the collective heart of humanity so that we can become receptive to the love that emanates directly from the heart of divinity. And then use these higher source of fuel of energy, not only to bring greater harmony to ourselves and healing, but then also to radiate this love, this healing, this compassion to a world that so desperately needs it. So if this is your first time here, please be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can receive notifications every time I post new videos and new guided meditations. This week, for example, we publish a new prayer for your son. So if you're a mother who, for example, is struggling with the need to control your son, or you're under a lot of fear and anxiety about some decisions your son may have made, and you're really worried and cannot sleep at night, that prayer is available to you as a very powerful tool to help you reconnect again with an inner sense of calm and ease, surrendering your son to a higher power. And so there's great healing that can come from that. And those of you who are already a regular, welcome. It's very nice to have you here. Hello, Mariette in South Africa. Thank you for being with us. Hello, Cindy's Heart. Hello, Mary Moore. Thank you very much as well for being here. And everybody else who's making their way slowly into today's broadcast. As I mentioned at the very beginning, we are talking about the unexpected gifts of loneliness. And what I'm going to be sharing with you is actually I would say, the golden nuggets of this week's article that talks about the paradox of loneliness. And I'll share with you in just a moment exactly what that is. I prepared a set of accompanying slides to kind of make this teaching part a little bit more digestible and easier to understand. And then during the second part of our broadcast, during the guided meditation, the meditation will be focused on bringing in the observer and the greater presence that can really help us keep us company during those moments of loneliness, and help us also uncover what that loneliness may be trying to tell us. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. This week's article focused on the paradox of loneliness and the many unexpected gifts that our loneliness has for us. And the paradox of loneliness, in essence, is this idea that the moment when you feel most alone and abandoned, unseen, the moment you become aware of that reality and that feeling, at that exact moment, you could not be more accompanied. So have you ever felt utterly alone in a room full of people? Have you ever smiled and nodded while inside a quiet voice inside of you whispers, does anyone actually see me, like the real me? Are they only interacting with the person they want to see, or the one that makes them happy? Does anyone actually really see the real part of me? Many of us have had that experience of what it's like to be either in a relationship or in a friendship or in a group of, in a group of friends or in a social setting where you walk out of there feeling completely unseen, unacknowledged, unheard, and you wonder when you get home, like, why was I even there? And you walk out even feeling more lonely or more disconnected. And so, what I want you to know is that you're not alone. This is very, 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 very common, especially once you make the decision to embark on some kind of a spiritual path and then begin to very, very slowly to tap into your own inner source of love, wisdom, and power. You may have in the past been used to looking for all those things externally. But the moment you begin to connect more and more and more with that source inside of you, you begin to realize that, and this is going to sound really strange, almost like the world has really nothing to offer you in that regard. And it creates a deeper sense of separation between you and others. Carl Jung used to say that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And when do we face our souls, really the vital energy that gives us life? It's really when we are alone. And so many of us will then, whenever we begin to feel the sense of loneliness or sense of a void within us, we immediately begin to feel a sense or feelings of anxiety, discomfort, and right away then we look for many ways of silencing the silence. We fill every silence with some kind of a noise, with some kind of activity. We get busy. We move into looking for the next text message, the next WhatsApp message, the next tweet. I find myself, when I myself fall into the habit of doom scrolling, and I catch myself, I ask myself immediately, okay, what is it that I'm really trying to avoid right now? Because I just kind of fell into another void, trying to run away from my own void. And funny enough, both are kind of pitless, basically, bottomless. Who you are is really infinite. And when you look at what society provides you, it's also limitless entertainment, food, distraction, entertainment, video games, anything, so that you can avoid dealing with what is really unfolding and manifesting within you. At the heart of this deep feeling of disconnection or loneliness that many of us experience is a fundamental lie. A lie that I really do believe that here in the Western world, especially if you are of the Judeo-Christian tradition, has been pretty much established in Scripture with the story of Adam and Eve. That kind of tells us that there was a time when we lived in perfect union with God and harmony. And we did something. We did something that made God very angry, betrayed God, and then we were then kicked out of this paradise. And as a result of that, some kind of a feeling of shame then set in, this idea that there's something wrong with you, that you'll always be alone, and that you're being somehow punished for something that you or your ancestors or the human race did. For many people, the core wound of the heart really begins there. And this is very characteristic of the Judeo-Christian Western culture, because it's very much embedded into our psyche. I remember, for example, I shared a couple of days ago, I shared a picture of a family vacation when I was about 9 or 10 years old. And I remember very clearly that feeling of loneliness, of being an outcast, feeling very different from the rest of my brothers and sisters. And I remember that at that time, my ongoing question that I would ask myself was, why can I not be like them? They seem to be happy. They seem like they don't care. They seem to be having fun. What is wrong with me? Why am I always alone? Why can I not find a friend that, yeah, that can really see me, the real me? And so these are in many ways expressions of this fundamental lie of separation that tells us that we are separate from the source of love, that we are separate from true connection, that we are separate from the divine. And so here is then the paradox. At that moment, when you fully acknowledge and embrace your loneliness, when you stop trying to escape it, fix it, or numb it, at that moment is precisely the moment when you discover you're the most accompanied. And I would say the same could be said for connection. That the moment that you become aware of how disconnected you feel, whether if it's from your body, from life, from your emotions, your heart, etc. At that moment, when you become aware of how disconnected you feel, that is the precise moment when you are most connected. Because it takes connection to experience the disconnection. That is the essence. And it takes company, accompanying yourself to become aware of how lonely you are. The most important thing, which I cover in greater depth in this week's article, is that loneliness is not a problem to be solved. It is an invitation, a sacred invitation, a call to wake up from these lies of separation so that you can find a greater presence or a greater awareness which created you in its own image and likeness. And so when you realize that, when you become aware that the problem is not loneliness itself, then you may wonder, well, what is then the problem? Because I feel very disconnected. Well, it's your resistance to loneliness itself. It's everything that you do to escape the void, to escape the emotional discomfort, to escape that feeling of separation. And this pretty much sums up, I would say, the first 40 years of my life, where once I became aware or started to connect with that feeling of disconnection, that void, that loneliness, then I did everything in my power to fill it with success, with entertainment, with money, buying things, with sex, relationships, pornography, smoking, drugs, alcohol, endless entertainment, movie after movie and series after series, video games, everything I could to escape it. And it wasn't really until there was nowhere to escape, and this happened in South Africa shortly after I turned 40, where the universe, my universe, brought me into a situation where I could no longer escape it. I was far away from my home. I could not travel to go back to the US. My mother died. I lost my job. I had been robbed, so I had no money. And I'd really, all the mechanisms that sort of were my fillers, my avoiding mechanisms, they're just simply not existent anymore. And it was at that moment when my heart really cracked right open. And I just surrendered into that deep feeling of abandonment and about loneliness and disconnection. And it was there then where beyond that I began to tune in and connect with a vast space that I now call the heart, an infinitely loving presence filled with endless compassion and mercy, out of which then tremendous amount of healing then began to pour in, out of which then I was lifted and able to see what my life had been all about. And then the grace of God, I would say, began to pour in and began to slowly fill the only thing that can really fill the spaces of emptiness, within us, which is the love of God. It's the only thing that ultimately can heal the sense of separation. And so I realized over the years that out of this experience of separations and loneliness that had been part of my journey, that three very clear, unexpected gifts came up. That when I stopped running away and allowing loneliness to really do its sacred work, a deeper alchemy began to occur. And so these are the three gifts that loneliness offered me. And then I realized is here also to offer you once you become deeply not only aware of it, but begin to really allow loneliness, that space, that void to begin to talk to you. First gift was what I call the mirror of true empathy. When you have truly faced your own loneliness, you recognized it instantly in others, not as something similar, but as the same essential human loneliness that is just part of the human condition. And this recognition shatters isolation and creates an unshakable connection. Your loneliness becomes your greatest source of empathy. And so the way that this was expressed in me, the way that I recognized this was, wow, I thought I was the only one that was broken. I thought I was the only one that needed to be fixed. But the more people I meet, the more people I coach, the more people that I relate to, the more I realize that this loneliness is not only an unavoidable part of the human condition, but it's also part of what connects me to others. And so the ability to really feel other or to connect with others, even in your loneliness, this is the place where empathy really is born. One of my clients experienced about this when he was talking about this recently. He said, well, I can hear others, I can see them, be with them, and even help them heal because I am no longer afraid of my own loneliness. And so this is then what really coming to terms and really embracing your own loneliness is. It will allow you to feel more connected to other people and to their own depth and feelings of loneliness. The second gift of loneliness is that it really anchors the inner presence within you. So when you sit at the center of feeling completely alone, once you sit with the feelings, the thoughts, the sensations, everything that you would call loneliness, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, I'm going to go eat worms, that type of thing, and you just feel that sunken feeling in your chest and in your belly, and then you're really just willing to really just be with that. At that same moment, you realize that there's a greater presence that is sitting with you, even in that loneliness, in that feeling. And that presence is direct, the embodied experience that you are accompanied by a greater field, a greater intelligence, even in the depth of your void. So I remember feeling this, for example, about 9 years ago, very, very intimately, very distinctly, shortly after my sister passed away, and I was living in South Africa. So at that time, I remember that, wow, my sister just died, and I feel abandoned by her. And then I thought about, wow, my mother died also, and my father died, and my other younger brother, sibling, also passed away. And then I realized that the one brother that I had left, with whom I felt very close, he himself, since he got married and had children, we have also really grown apart. And so I felt, after my sister passed away, really alone. You know, I realized that that family unit, that which had for many years created a sense of identity and then also a container that held me, nurtured me, etc., was, you know, that was what had held me or contained me in my own loneliness. And so I went through a process of grieving that, surrendering it, letting it go. And then as a result of that, I tuned in and tapped in into a much greater field. I can only call this field the unconditional and merciful love of God. That was now my new family. It was the new container that was here to hold me, to draw inspiration, safety, inspiration, joy, connection from. And so that feeling or that presence that I began to connect with since then, all it's done is just grown in me to the point that I have not only really enjoyed more and more and more and more my moments of solitude, but also a tremendous amount of creativity has emerged from that. And I find I find it very ironic when I think about these sometimes because I say to myself, my gosh, this deep feelings of loneliness and this void is actually the place from where great music is now flowing, where my writing, my creativity is now emanating. And so I learned to see now or reframe loneliness as just the vast space or the presence of the divine, and learn to surrender and even welcome it. And then finally, the third gift is the capacity then from this space to offer sacred service to others. People who have befriended their own pain, I have noticed, they develop a supernatural ability to be with other people's pain or loneliness without needing to fix or advise. In essence, your own capacity to really be with your own loneliness, with your own void, this space, vast space that I've just been referring to, really creates the condition for you to be able to hold that kind of space for other people, whether if it's a friend, a partner, or sometimes a complete unknown, and then offer that compassionate presence that ultimately I find is what really brings healing and comfort and ease to a lot of people. And so the key idea then that I'm inviting you to consider today is that your loneliness could be seen as something that you need to fix, you need to run away from, you need to fill, or you can reframe it and begin to look at your loneliness as your teacher, as the invitation to establish a deeper connection with a greater presence that lives within you, the source of creativity, the source of love, the source of the entire cosmos. And so before we move into the practice, okay, I want to invite you to consider some very powerful questions which you can take into today's meditation that will prime the pump, so to speak, for the work that we're going to be doing together. And it's an invitation to have a dialogue with your own heart. Your heart is your communication channel with your soul. So when you're talking to your heart, when you place a hand over your heart and you really give yourself permission to tune in into the love, wisdom, and power that resides within, what you're really listening to is to your own soul. So before we dive into today's meditation, let me ask you 4 questions. These are 4 questions which, by the way, if you want to take this work deeper, you could journal. It's a part of what I would call a compassionate inquiry practice. The first question is, where does loneliness live in your life right now? So those of you who are live with me today, hello Sonia, Mariette, Fabiola, Mo, Mariette, Mary Moore, and everybody else I cannot see. Let me ask you then, can you think of loneliness? When you tune in and connect with the feeling of loneliness, in what area of your life, in this moment, do you feel it the most? Is it in your family? Is it with your partner, your husband? Is it with regards to work? I know, for example, that's for me, that's a big one where I sometimes feel like, wow, I'm so alone in this work. In the sense of like, yeah, like in just walking sometimes, go through long periods of work where there's no feedback, there's no references, and I don't even know if I'm moving in the right direction, if I'm doing the right thing. And so I feel sometimes I'm just walking a big stretch of my work, feeling very lonely and sometimes completely misunderstood. Or is it in the area of spirituality where you may feel like God has abandoned you in a particular area? So I want you to tune in and connect with that area, because when we go into our meditation in just a few moments, I want to invite you to come into that space. The second question is, once you tune in and connect with that area, ask yourself, when did this loneliness first arrive? When, if I could trace it back, when was the very first time that I remember feeling this? What did it feel like in my body? What was happening in my life at that moment? And then from there is the question, what has your loneliness already given you? What are some of the unexpected gifts that this loneliness has brought you? So as I was speaking, there's the gift of empathy, connection, presence, sacred service. So just to take one of those, I could not be the healer and the coach and the facilitator that I am today had it not been for all those feelings and moments of loneliness throughout my life. It's what allows me to really connect with other people's loneliness and void. So out of that, the gift of creativity, connection, empathy have really also come. And then at the very end, for extra bonus, you could also ask yourself if you could speak with that younger version of yourself, if you could write them a letter, if you could have a conversation with that part of you or that version of you that first experienced loneliness, what would you say to them? Would you hug them? What would you say to them? Like, for example, when I did this same inquiry work and I saw the younger version of myself experiencing that, I held him. I hugged myself and I kissed myself. And I told myself, I know this feels really bad. And, but here's what I want you to know. This is a big gift that you're being given. It's difficult, I know, but this is part of the human condition. And your willingness and to go through this lesson right now at such an early age is going to prepare you for the greater work that you're here to do. So these are the questions then that during today's meditation, once we really move into that space of heart-brain coherence and we drop into the heart, I'm going to invite you to consider. And so the practice is, in essence, once we connect with this void within us, with this area in which we feel unloved, abandoned, unseen, whatever that may be for you, is to pause and to rest there. And to, in essence, say to that feeling of loneliness or to that aspect of yourself, I'm here with you. And then we're going to continue to just breathe into the heart, being fully present, just welcoming the feelings, the sensations of discomfort that may be arising at that moment. And then from there, then we're going to just listen. We're going to just simply observe, listen, and make ourselves available to the only thing, again, that can really fill this void that we all have. And so in preparation for today's meditation, I want to read to you guys an excerpt from Debbie Ford's books that speaks about a love that never leaves. What you are seeking at the deepest level exists inside of you. So now it's your holy responsibility to encode your consciousness with thoughts, feelings, and images that will support you in creating the perfect internal environment to cultivate a deep and intimate relationship with the one you call God. In a world where love leaves as quickly as it comes, you can rest now, knowing that you have found a love that will never leave you, never misguide you, and never ever let you down. My advice, dear friend, is to take care of that love. It will give you everything that you have been looking for. Within every one of you, there's an infinite love, wisdom, and power. That which your soul craves the most during those moments when you feel alone. Recognizing it, surrendering it, becoming receptive to it is where the healing begins. I invite you now to place a hand over the heart and take a few moments just to observe the gentle rhythm of your breath and your heartbeat. Gently closing the eyes, giving yourself permission to just be here and now, present and available to yourself. There's nowhere to go, nothing to do, no one to be other than be here, just breathing and feeling. Breathing into your heart in a nice, low, natural way. Establishing an even pattern so that the inhale and the exhale are about the same length. Feeling the gentle lub dub in the middle of the chest. Feeling the sensations. Aware of the position of your physical body in the space. Aware of how you feel emotionally right now. Letting the world around you take care of itself while you take care of yourself. Knowing that each conscious breath in and out of the heart is inviting you to relax more and more into this moment, letting go of any tension around the head, the neck, the shoulders. Letting go of any tension around the stomach area. letting the world outside of you do what the world does. The world spins around in constant movement. So does your inner world. In the inner world of the heart, your heart lies at the center, circulating the blood that flows through your veins, circulating the energy that gives you life. And by you tuning in into your own center, the blood that flows through your veins and the vibrating energy that flows through your heart, you're now nurturing your inner world. Rest in its silence. Rest in its stillness. Welcoming any thoughts, feelings, sensations as they arise without offering any resistance. Just breathing and feeling. As you continue to breathe, feel gratitude and appreciation for your beating heart that powers, circulates nutrient-rich blood through your entire body, providing nutrition to each cell, removing also toxicity from the body. Feel gratitude and appreciation also for your feeling heart, your capacity to experience feelings, emotions, which is what connects you to all of humanity. Feel gratitude also for how far you have come along your own healing journey. Especially for those friends and guides and teachers who have supported you along your own journey. Letting this feeling of gratitude and appreciation open your heart even more, making you open and available and receptive. For appreciation is the key that opens the heart. Now, from this place, ask yourself, in what area of my life do I feel most alone, abandoned, misunderstood? In what area of my life do I feel most alone, abandoned, or misunderstood? Do you remember when was the first time that you felt this way? That you became aware of this feeling of disconnection or void? How old were you? What was happening in your life? What are some of the gifts that these feelings have given you? Perhaps you had to develop some gifts or skills as a result of that, embark on a new path. What are some of these unexpected gifts that these moments of disconnection and loneliness have given you? We're not denying these feelings, we're not bypassing them, we're just simply recognize that everything serves a purpose. And even these experiences that have brought us pain and disconnection have also served a purpose. Finally, imagine looking into that younger version of yourself when you first experience this feeling of disconnection or loneliness or abandonment, and see yourself just sitting with them, keeping them company, and then offering your loving heart to them. Allowing your loving heart to ease the pain and the suffering of that younger version of yourself. Almost as if saying, "You're not alone, I'm here with you." This will make you stronger. Great wisdom will come from this. And as you continue to just offer this younger version of yourself, this sacred presence, allow me now to speak the following prayer on your behalf. Heavenly Father, on behalf of everyone who's present here today, either live or watching this replay, I call for the divine light of love to shine in our hearts and in those places where we still feel unloved, unseen, alone, disconnected, or misunderstood. We welcome, oh God, your divine grace. Become receptive to your healing. In the stillness of our hearts and with each breath, we let thy light shine within us. In the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen. Imagine now that all the loving presence that flows through your heart also goes out into the world, surrounding your friends and your family, transcending frontiers and borders, going out to all those places around the world where people feel alone, abandoned, disconnected, letting the vibration of compassion that flows through you go into the lives of family that have been estranged, people who are alone in hospitals, letting this compassion and love ease their suffering. And as you see and visualize this energy of sacred compassion flowing through you, please repeat with me. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and sickness. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and sickness. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and sickness. May the light of God continue to shine in your heart, especially in all those places where you feel alone, disconnected, misunderstood. And may your healing be also the healing of your friends and family and of all sentient beings. And so it is, and it is so. Amen. Take a deep inhale into the heart. Once again, deep inhale. Last time, inhaling deep into the heart. Opening the eyes, returning to the full awareness of the space that surrounds you, feeling strong, feeling connected, feeling calm, ready to move forward, and welcome back, everyone. The moment when you feel most alone, misunderstood, or abandoned offers a sacred doorway to the only thing that can fill that void, which is the unconditional love, the wisdom, the power of the Creator, that which our soul longs and needs for its own evolution. Every moment when you catch yourself feeling lonely, or you notice the thought and the feeling arises, I want you to remember the paradox of loneliness. That in these moments when you catch yourself feeling so lonely, at that moment you could not be more accompanied by the presence, the love, and the compassion of the Creator, who, just like you were sitting, the same way in which you were sitting with this younger version of yourself, sits always beside you, offering its unconditional love and its compassion. All right, my beautiful friends, we've come to the end of our time together. So thank you very much for making time this Thanksgiving Sunday, to participate in today's meditation. Thank you, Narayan, I'm glad that you enjoyed today's meditation. Lillian, thank you for being with us. Lillian says, very blessed Sunday. Hello, everyone. Isabel, you joined us a little bit later. Thank you for being with us. Yeah, and everybody else who is, yeah, he's still here in the chat, but you haven't made any comments, or anybody else who might be watching the replay. Amanda, thank you so much for being here. Yes, Amanda says, very valuable. You really struggle with this. Yeah, well, you, me, and all of us. And this is why then we need more and more and more spaces like this, because when we come together in groups like this and we tune in to the greater, the collective heart, we not only can connect with our feelings of void and loneliness, but we also can feel even more connected, despite how far away we are from each other. That is, in many ways, the power of the greater heart, the power of the collective heart. All right, my beautiful friends, I wish you a fantastic rest of the week, wherever you are in the world, reminding you always to please take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. I look forward to connecting with you again next week at the same time. Until then, I send you all of my love from my heart to yours. Bye-bye for now.